the third member is Councillor Todd Deacon. If Mr. President, if you would indulge me for just a minute, I would just like to give a little background of how we got here.
Absolutely.
So the city had an opening for an assistant clerk in the clerk's office, and in doing this, we received, the job was posted, applications were accepted. We received over 30 applications, and as the chair of the Ways and Means Committee, I scheduled a special committee hearing. Present at that hearing were myself and the members of the Ways and Means Committee. Of course, City Council President David Cormier was also president, and City Clerk Caitlin Huffman were present as well. Once we opened the meeting, it was determined that, and we got some information from Brian Riley's office, just to make sure we were following all the rules and regulations. It was determined that it would be in the best interests of all the applicants for their own privacy to go into an executive session and to be able to do a pre-screening of all the applicants, and from there to decide which applicants we would move on with and offer interviews to. So of the more than 30 applications that we had, we moved into executive session, and actually, before we even started, we had a brief interview form that was prepared for us with a set of questions. We did spend a few minutes clarifying some of the language in those questions. A couple of those questions were a little bit bulky. So we were able to get the questions in order, just clean up some of the language in them. And every applicant was, well, before I get to that, so the initial applications we went through by hand, all the members of the committee, Ms. Huffman, City Council President Cormier. We went through one by one. We handled each and every application one by one. Each one was reviewed. From there, we continued to go through and dwindle our numbers down. We finally got to 6 applications that we thought were amongst the best. As I said, we all had the opportunity to ask the questions, formal questions we had. We followed up with additional questions during the course of the interviews. We did have 6 scheduled interviews. We had one individual who did not get back to us, so we ended up interviewing 5 individuals, and of those 5 individuals, we were able to, as I said, ask our questions, go a little bit more in depth. We narrowed that number down to 3 applications. Of those 3 applications for second interviews tonight, all 3 were on board, and then Ms. Huffman received a letter, and I believe the council received a copy of the letter stating that she had respectfully withdrew her name from consideration. So that is the process that we used. That's how we got here tonight. So tonight we have 2 interviews scheduled, and that would be with a Miss Maribel Perez and with Vicki Jackson. And at this point, unless anybody has anything to add, we will ask Maribel Perez to step within the bar, or into the chambers, I'm sorry. And we can open up this interview as well.
Good evening, councillors and
Good
Madam
evening.
Clerk.
If you just want to make sure that microphone is on there.
Good evening.
Thank you, and welcome. Welcome again.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Perez, I don't think there's anyone here who doesn't know who you are, but I'd like to start out by giving you the opportunity to introduce yourselves to the council and to any of our people that are watching from home.
Okay. My name is Maribel Perez. I worked for the past almost 18 years in the City Clerk's office. I'm a Leominster resident. I have experience, moving I started as a senior clerk, I should say. Then from there, I moved to principal clerk, and now the head clerk of the department for the city clerk.
And how long have you been the head of the department?
I started for this position in 2016.
Okay. Now, Ms. Perez, I have spoken with you and interviewed you, and I have all the questions that I wanted answered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this up first to Councilor Deacon from the Ways and Means Committee, if he has any questions for you.
Thank you for coming, Mr. Perez.
Thank you for having
I
me.
just got a question that I'm going to ask yourself and Ms. Jackson, the two finalists. And can you name a professional skill and a personal skill you believe is important to the success of this position?
A professional skill? I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Yeah. Can you name a professional skill and a personal skill you believe is important to the success of this position?
Okay, be on time, finish your task, be respectful, ask questions.
Good. Thank you. That's all I have. Anything?
Okay. Ms. Perez, take a deep breath. Okay. I'm going to open this up to the rest of the council, and I think I'm just going to go around the table. And we'll go with Councilor Angelini. Do you have any questions?
I'll pose one question, Mr. Perez. Take your time and think about it. No pressure. And if you paid attention to the last round of interviews we had before we hired our last assistant clerk, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked those applicants. Let me turn my microphone on first. If roles were reversed and you were in my position and I was in your position, what would you as a counselor think was the most important trait that the candidate for this position should possess?
Experience.
Thank you very much. That's it. No further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Brady?
Good evening. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You have definitely a lot of experience in the office. What changes would you bring into the office immediately that you would see that it would create a more efficient office setting?
Okay, I'll be open about your question. I will bring my current experience to this position, with the exception that working with the councils, you will have me as a blank canvas. You get to train me as to how you want your job to be represented for the public.
That's all.
Councilor Frida?
Maribel, known you for a long time in that office. What other areas of the city clerk, assistant city clerk's position do you feel are important to the position? I mean, you're familiar with the workings of the office itself, but specifically to the assistant clerk's position.
To be honest, I believe that all of the areas in that office are important to this position. Beginning from customer service to money orders and census, registrations, certifying signatures, preparation for voting, testing the equipment. Everything is important. It is combined for that position.
I know you've been helpful in that office in the past with Spanish interpretation, and it's really a necessity in that office. Will you have the ability to, I don't know if are you a notary or a justice of the peace?
I am a notary public.
You are a notary?
Yes.
Okay, JP as well? No?
No. I don't believe that I have to be qualified to be a JP for this position. I don't think it's part of the job.
Okay, thank you.
All set? I'm going to actually skip over to Councilor Bedanza.
That's fine.
Good evening, Ms. Perez. Thank you for coming tonight. Thank you for your interest in the position. My question is, I'm sure you have, a long experience and know a lot of the inner workings of the clerk's office. But, this is obviously stepping into a new position. I'm sure it's a little bit of a challenge, which every new position brings. What areas do you think will be the first part of your learning curve in terms of rising to the assistant clerk's position, if that's how this works tonight?
I will have to learn new tasks that pertain to the city council, the language that you guys use. I'm a very resilient person and competent. I learn fast, I'm on time, I work long hours, early morning, late nights. So you'll have me when you need me, as you need me.
Yeah. Well, a large part of any job, of course, is being there, for starters, right?
Exactly, yeah.
As well as being open and receptive. I would assume that, I think you said at the outset that you're not afraid to ask questions, right?
No. Well, no, not really. I mean, I'm just nervous.
Yeah, I understand you're nervous tonight, but in terms of in general, relax. So this is a relatively informal
No,
process.
I like to ask questions as I'm doing the job, processing the job information as it comes. And when I don't understand something, you're gonna, hear from me. I'm gonna ask lots of questions.
That's really important. Now, you've had you have an opportunity to work with Ms. Huffman now for a number of years. I am sure there's been situations where, you've had to be trained on new tasks. How do you assess working with Ms. Huffman in terms of, different types of trainings that you've already had?
It's great. I mean, she's an excellent boss. I can't complain. When I have need of her brain, she immediately she's available all the time to, help me with any questions, guide me through the right process. And once, I'm guided one time, I don't need to be babysit. I just do it.
Yeah. Can you give me an example of maybe one area where she trained you on a new process or a process that got revised or something like that?
Running the voting list, accurate, and all the steps necessary that has to be done before we get to run a voting list, like making sure that all the duplicates are taken care of, that there's no duplicates on the record, that there's no disease on the records, the people that have moved, their information is up to date, and so on.
And I would imagine, with all the years that you've worked in the office, that your competencies with respect to technology, especially the software that the clerk's office uses, has developed over the years?
Right, I feel very comfortable working with the VRS system. To me, it's just become easy. It's hard to articulate everything that goes into detail. I just do it because it's what I do daily.
How about
it comes easy, better doing it than explaining it.
Great. How about your word processing skills? Is that something that you use in the clerk's office, or?
Some.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'd be amenable to training or developing that if you need to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much for your answers. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Bedanza. And last but not least, City Council President David Cormier.
Thank you very much. Just a very quick question. Have you ever, on a full-time, or maybe from time to time, have you ever had to manage people in any capacity, in any job that you've held, or?
Not really manage, but be part of a team in making decisions. Like I've been in this job for so long, this is one of the most important jobs in that office is election, and it's teamwork. This is not something that, okay, Maribel decides she's going to do this. It has to be run and communicate to the others in order to get a better understanding as to where we want to get, and so that we can do our job efficiently.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank you.
Ms. Perez, just quickly, so we understand what your position is and what you do now. So just to be sure, we want to make sure that you're sure, this is going to be a change for you, it's going to be a jump for you, it's going to be a challenge, and this is something you're ready to take on.
Yes, I should have done it years ago.
Okay, but now you think you're ready, and this is
Yes, I am.
a move that you can make? Okay. Does anyone have? Okay, certainly.
Ms. Perez, it came to me, reviewing my notes here, that we do have a primary election coming up rather quickly. And I noticed on your resume that you had mentioned some of that election experience that you have. Would you mind briefly describing how stepping into the assistant clerk's position, what that would mean as far as your participation in the election process?
I'd be participating 100%. I mean, I'll have, like always, I put priorities first, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to continue to help assist the election. It comes with that, just like doing birth corrections and amendments and customer service.
Provisional ballots?
Testing of the equipment. That's part of what we do as a team.
And you've obviously done that in the past
Yes.
for a number of years. All right, terrific. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Madam Vice President.
I just have
Councilor Brady.
I
Yep.
just have a quick follow-up to one of your answers, Maribel. In the assistant role, you'll need to be able to fill in for the city clerk in any circumstances. So getting a justice of the peace is probably required, because if she's unable to do ceremonies, you would have to step up to do that, is my understanding.
I'm not sure what the requirement is, but based on the years that I've worked for this position and having other city clerks sitting in that position, only the city clerk, for as far as I know, was the person with the Justice of the Peace certificate and doing marriages. It's been, since I ever worked in that office, it's been that way. When did that change? I don't know. I didn't know that did change.
Thank you.
Okay. And just to clarify, I don't think it is a requirement of the job of the assistant clerk magistrate to be a JP, so.
I just read it as needed to step in
Okay.
all roles, so that's why I assumed that it was a requirement.
Okay. Ms. Perez, just quickly, so if you were to make the move and go to assistant clerk, obviously your 20 years of experience in that clerk's office is priceless.
Thank you.
Do you understand? But you would still be willing to help train whoever comes in and whoever takes that step up to take your position as well, correct?
I'll take that position, but I always want to be part of the rest.
Okay.
I like it, especially elections. I like the running around and
And
The multitasking.
the
It's a lot
20,
of
the
multitasking.
22-hour days, you're okay with?
I don't mind. I've done it.
Okay. Does any other member of the council have any other questions? Okay, Ms. Perez, again, thank you for coming in. Thank you for the interview. We will, I'm kind of at a loss here, Mr. President, of procedurally where we're at this point. I do not see our next candidate here. I will excuse Ms. Perez.
Okay. Thank you
And-
so much for having me, and have a good evening all.
Thank you. So procedurally, Mr. President, I don't know where we stand at this point.
Okay. Well, obviously, we can't interview somebody that's not here, and, I mean, we don't have a next hearing till 6:50, so. if
Show up
she-
late.
What's that?
They show up late.
So if they come, we can interview them, and if not, then we'll have to recheck with them.
Okay.
You can, yeah, absolutely. See if there's been an emergency or,
Okay, so we will see if that person shows up, we'll go back into session. If not, we will next be seen at 6:50 PM. Good evening, Ms. Jackson.
Hello, how are you?
It's nice to see you again.
You as well.
Again, I want to welcome you. My name is Pauline Cormier. I'm the chair of the Ways and Means. The clerk of the Ways and Means is Councilor Adinger. Next to me and directly across from me is Councilor Deacon. We've all had the opportunity to meet with you.
Yes.
So what I would like to do to get started here is to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to the council. Tell
Okay.
us a little bit about yourself and your background, and then we'll
Okay.
go from there.
All right, first of all, hello everyone, how are you? Thank you for having me back. I greatly appreciate it. This is probably the hardest thing I've done to date. So it's a pleasure to be here. I was a paralegal. I've been a paralegal since 1992. I've done work in the civil litigation area, domestic relations, criminal matters. I've done a gambit of, legal matters. I don't have experience in the city area, except for having done work for the assistant city solicitor in Fitchburg. So the items that are in your description, out of my whole, legal field, I may not have done, much city work, but during the course of my career, I think I have the foundation to do whatever you need me to do, and whatever Caitlin needs to have done. I strongly believe I have that foundation. So I've been doing this work, helping, actually serving the community, serving clients, serving people for quite some time.
Thank you. I'm going to open, I don't have any questions myself, but I'm going to open it up to Councilor Ardinger first.
Thank you very much. Vicki, are you nervous on TV?
Am I? Not really. It's more in front of you all.
No, I just wanted to pull a scare into you just for the heck of it. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. But I have to tell you that I looked at your resume and I looked at your references, and I am very, very impressed. And
Thank you.
after our interviews, I think you would be a great candidate. So don't really have any questions. I just wanted to comment on your
Thank you.
references. They were fantastic. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and Councilor Deacon?
Thank you for coming, Ms. Jackson.
Thank you.
I asked the same question I'm going to ask you from the first finalist candidate. And can you name a professional skill and a personal skill you believe is important to the success of this position?
Professional skill, I think being very organized, because I know it's dealing with, one of the job duties is dealing, well, you're a keeper of records. So being organized is, I know is very important. Being detailed-oriented is very important, which goes along with being organized. So I think those are very important skills to have. Then and personal, did you say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, personal skill.
Personal skills, well, I'm a people person. I mean, I know I keep saying it, but I am. I like to serve. I like to talk to people. And people I don't even know, really. And I like to serve people. For example, I was at the grocery store, and there was this gentleman behind me who had chicken, spaghetti, and broccoli on when we checked out. I had no clue who this gentleman was, but he had interesting looking items. And so we chatted about it. He was making Alfredo. So I was running the other day and caught up to this gentleman I don't know at all. So we chatted for a little bit and I moved on. So I'm a people person.
Thank you.
Councilor Bedanza?
Good evening, Ms. Jackson.
Good evening.
Welcome to
Thank
the
you.
chambers. I had a chance to look at your resume, some of your background, and I am a practicing lawyer as well, so I know a little bit about the world that you've lived in the past. And I know it requires a great deal of organization and a great deal of sort of stick-to-itness,
Yes.
tasks, being task-oriented. My question, so I'm sure you come to us with great administrative skills, at least in a general nature.
Yes.
My question for you tonight is, have you spent any time in preparation for this potential job in assessing what it is you in fact have to learn?
Well, yes, I would imagine the computer part of it. I know I would need to maintain your website. That was one of the skills, which I think that would entail making sure it's up to date and things of that nature. But as far as in updating it itself, that's something I've never done. Certainly doesn't mean I can't learn it. I am absolutely teachable. So that would be one thing that I did look at.
One of the jobs is that the clerk's office, I believe, depends very heavily on a particular type of specific software that's used in public record keeping.
Mm-hmm.
Could you give us a little bit of a description of the type of software currently that you're familiar with from your prior experience?
It would be, Leap is something I've used. I know it's probably not something you use in the city, but Leap is what I've used as far as maintaining files. I've used Access years ago in DB Text, but Leap is the system that I've used recently.
When's the last time you had to sort of learn a new software that was significant to your job performance?
Probably a couple years ago. Leap is relatively new to the legal field, I think.
Yeah.
So it was Leap.
Okay. How about, have you, you said you had some very limited experience with the assistant city solicitor?
Yes.
Without revealing any confidences or anything like that, can you give us a little bit more specific idea what that entailed?
Well, it was dealing with tenants and problem properties. An inspector might drive by a property, or a tenant might have issues and then file a complaint with the city.
Okay.
And so I helped the assistant city solicitor with the complaints, filing them, speaking to the inspectors, sometimes speaking to the tenants, just getting the assistant city solicitor, organized. So that's what it entailed.
Did it happen to be my friend, Mr. Goldstein?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
That was recently.
Yeah.
It was more recently. Than
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Ms. Jackson, I appreciate it.
Councilor Frieden? Do you have any questions? Okay. Councilor Brady?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
I'm just curious, walking into an office with long-term employees and whatnot, what kind of dynamic do you think you could bring in to make that shift?
With respect to long-term employees?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's working with just anybody. I mean, I've worked with, at one of the jobs I had for almost, more than 20 years. And it was a smaller firm, and we are like family. So that's how I would expect to be wherever I am, because you're with your coworkers for a long period of the day, 8 hours, however many hours. So you want to have that respect. You want to get that. You want to give that. So I would expect to have a family type atmosphere.
Thank you.
All set, Councilor Brady. Councilor Angelini?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So my mic's on, there we go. Good evening, Ms. Jackson.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming. Before I ask my question, I just wanted to thank you for your service to our country. I noticed that you served 6 years in the United States Army. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Went from the medical specialist to the legal profession.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
In interest of fairness, I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked the applicant that appeared before us.
Okay.
Which is, if we were to reverse roles and you were in my position tonight, what is the one trait that you think would be the most important to bring to this position? And take your time. I don't expect an answer immediately. So.
Well, I think, it's the assistant city clerk position. So with Caitlin, I'm a loyal person, so I would do whatever she needs done, whether it be working in the department itself or in the building, whatever it is she needs. I mean, that's why that's why I'm here. So I mean, that's important. That's important to me to make sure she is comfortable with me, to make sure if she had to go on vacation or whatever, that she's confident enough in me to know that I can handle whatever needs to be done.
Terrific. Thank you. No further questions. Thank you.
And City Council President David Cormier.
Thank you very much. I also, to be fair, I'll ask the same question they asked the other applicant as well. Have you ever managed, during any of your time in whatever career you were in, managed any employees or been their supervisor, for a long or short period of time?
No, because, I've worked, as you know, I've worked in smaller firms, larger firms, small firms, so we all, I mean, it's I know, everyone knew that, you don't, like I think I said before, you don't wait for, I haven't in that sense, but I know how to train someone to do something I've done, which I've done. I know how to take someone who is less experienced and teach them whatever it is, I know. I know how to, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. If anybody's ever worked under your supervision.
Yeah, so, and I know that if something needs to be done, you do it. So not necessarily in that sense, but I do think I'm somewhat of a leader.
Okay.
I'm not needy, so.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you.
Any other councilors have any other questions, comments? Vicki, I want to thank you again. Thank you again for coming in And I think we discussed this briefly after the initial interview, and I said it then, we only recommended, as the Ways and Means Committee, only recommended 3 of you for a second interview. So of the great number of applications we got, you and there was 2 other candidates that rose to the top. So procedurally, this is what's going to happen, is we have other matters that we're going to take care of. The matter of the voting on the, for this position will come up later in the evening.
Okay.
So you're welcome to stay, or you're welcome to leave, and we will be in touch with you.
Okay.
And again, thank you. Thank you so much for coming in.
Okay, thank you for having me.
Thank you very much.
Is it okay if I ask just one question? Is that
Certainly.
right? Just for Caitlin. I wanted to know, what is the most challenging thing you find about the position as city clerk? What is the most challenging aspect?
Besides dealing with the city council.
Yeah, we don't count.
Besides dealing with city council, managing our elections and the ever-changing legislation, because it changes literally every year right now. So we don't have anything that's really solid to base things off of every year. So that just presents a challenge based off getting the right amount of people, complying with the law, and making sure we're in the right position to run the elections every year with those new legislative matters that come up.
All right. Okay, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Okay, we have about 2 minutes before I legally have to start the meeting, so I'm going to hold off on the 6:50 PM hearing for now, and the public forum will have to go into recess to take care of those, so it's just not worth. We'll start in a couple of minutes. So for July 25th, 2022, will you all please stand and join me for a salute to the flag? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now take a roll call of the honorable members of the Leominster City Council, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Present.
Councilor Cormier.
Present.
Councilor Arndinger.
Present.
Councilor Angelini.
Present.
Councilor Brady.
Present.
Councilor Deacon.
Present.
Councilor Freya.
Present.
And I am present. There are 8 members present this evening. Does Madam Chairwoman of Records, Vice President, do you have any records to present this evening?
I do. I reviewed the minutes of the last meeting. Aside from just a couple of typos, I find them to be in good order, and I ask that they be placed on file.
Okay, if there's no objections, we will place the minutes for July 11th, 2022 on file. All right, at this time, I would ask for a motion
So moved to
to
recess.
go into recess by Counselor Bedanza, seconded by Counselor Arndinger. I saw your hand next. All those in favor of going into recess signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, we are now in recess. We do have a continued public hearing, which was supposed to be at 6:50 PM on 62-22. Mr. Chairman of Legal Affairs, are you ready for that hearing?
I am indeed, Mr. President. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Peter Angelini, Chairman of the Legal Affairs Committee. I'm joined this evening by Councilor Mark Bedanza, the second member, and Councilor Pauline Cormier, the third member of Legal Affairs. This is a public hearing for petition 62-22. Pauline Cormier, Ward 2 Councilor, requests stop signs, plural, to be placed at the junction of 8th Street and Spruce Streets, both northbound and southbound. We had asked for a referral from the Leominster Police Traffic Division, and we did indeed receive one. It's dated July 12th from Sergeant Robichaud. And it says, "Thank you for your patience on this. Based on the information provided, I am not in favor of the four-way stop. According to the Massachusetts MUTCD, they're not supposed to be used for speed control or traffic calming." Then he provides section 10A-4 stop signs, which is highlighted, and I will read into the record. The purpose of the stop sign is to designate right-of-way to vehicles making conflicting movements. It is not intended, nor shall it be used, for the control of speed, traffic calming, or to forestall pedestrians, rear-end, or turning movement accidents. To ensure uniformity in a stop sign studies and recommendations, the warrants as provided in the 2009 MUTCD Section 2B.05 will govern. Stop signs shall be located as provided in Sections 2B.06 of the same. Multi-way stop signs must meet the warrant criteria as outlined in Section 2B.07 of the 2009 MUTCD. He goes on to state, "I don't know what the original petitioner is hoping to accomplish or what their complaint is. The only thing I can see would be to swap the locations of the signs so they control A Street instead of Spruce. That would make them consistent with the rest of the neighborhood. The consequences of that would most likely be an increase in speeding on Spruce Street. If you have any other information or questions, please let me know. Sergeant Robichaud, Leominster Police Traffic Division." At this time, I'd like to turn this over to the petitioner and get her thoughts on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this point, I would ask that this be continued, and the reason therefore is I have read Sergeant Robichaud's email and the points that he makes. I would like the opportunity to be able to walk with him on that site and schedule an appointment with him to walk with him on that site. The reason why this is so important in particular, he's right, the rest of all the numbered streets, 11th through 1st Street, have stop signs going east to west. There's two streets, 8th Street and 9th Street, that do not have the stop signs. So basically, people coming off Mechanic Street, instead of staying in Mechanic Street and going through any of the traffic and the traffic through town, can take this right and get themselves all the way over to Water Street and bypass downtown and everything going that way. So obviously, they use it as a cut-through and they go quite quickly. But even though, and I understand that the regulation is meant to not to control traffic or to stop speeding, my issue with 8th Street in particular is directly across from 8th is Viscaloid Avenue, which walks down, where the Francis Drake School is. So we have all these petitions, and we're doing all this work on the safe neighborhoods and the safe walking distances to the schools and everything. Well, for the kids in the French Hill neighborhood, all the numbered streets, in order to get to Viscaloid, they get themselves to 8th, and then they walk and they cross Mechanic at 8th Street. So in addition to being a safety hazard, there is where the stop signs are that run along Spruce. The way it's on a hill, it's in an embankment. It's difficult for the cars to see going left or right, and it's a very difficult area for the kids to cross the street to get there. So my opinion is, and I didn't mean to go this long on it, but I would really ask for a little more time to let me get a hold of Sergeant Robichaud and possibly walk through it with him in order to perhaps have him take a look at it, and maybe we can reconsider the position of the stop signs that are there, or creating a four-way stop, which I think would serve the neighborhood itself much better. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
My pleasure, Councilor Cormier. Councilor Bedanza, would you like to opine?
Yeah, sure.
Petition 62-20.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm willing to assent to the request of the author of the petition and continue this public hearing to another date.
All right. It appears that, does anyone else in the council wish to, Councilor Agnew?
Thank you very much, and I have more of a comment than a question. And I was driving on Route 2, and I came off Abbott Avenue to Lindell, and there's a stop sign there that has bright red flashing lights. So, when you talk to the sergeant, would it be possible to put that type of a stop sign at that location? That way you don't violate the law, and at the same time, you can't miss those bright red flashing lights. I think that may accomplish the same purpose that you're trying to achieve with a four-way stop.
Thank you.
Okay.
Through the chair, thank you, Councilor Arndinger. Actually, that's a very good idea. I hadn't thought of that, but that is something I would like to discuss with Sergeant Robichaud about that. It's a great idea, great suggestion.
In fact, your constituent, Mr. Smith, I believe his name was, from Main Street.
Yes.
I mean, he described a situation, I think, that involved much more than just the stop sign issue that we're dealing with now. It sounds like it's a very complex issue in that area. And I think your timing as far as addressing this, while we have the Safe Routes to School petition in front of us, makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
So it appears we have a consensus in seeking further time, unless there's anyone else in the council that would like to. Councilor Frida.
Yeah, I support further time. I do want to make note, though, we've had many, over my years, we've had many requests for four-way stop signs, and it's always the same thing. It's just not, but I think as the ward councilor, I think, an opportunity to decide which is the best way to handle it without the four-way stop signs. So I support that.
Thank you.
You all set, Councilor Frida? All set? Thank you. Is there anyone else in the council that would like to weigh in on this? All right. Well, I think
Public.
we're going to continue the public hearing. And ask them for...
Gonna go to the
Oh,
public.
that's fine. Thank you. Boy, I always miss the public. Is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak on behalf of or in opposition to petition 62-22? Is there anyone in attendance this evening for the second time that would like to speak in favor of or in opposition to petition 62-22? And for the third and final time, is there anyone in attendance this evening that would like to speak on behalf of or in opposition to petition 62-22? Seeing none, I'll declare we continue the public hearing, and
Do you have a date and time?
I'd recommend August 8th at 6:50 PM.
August 8th at 6:50? Thank you very much.
Okay, we are now going to hold a public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for any member of the audience to speak on any matter specifically listed on the council agenda. Speakers will be asked to come to the microphone and state their formal name and address, along with identifying the specific item or items they wish to address. Each speaker is respectfully asked to keep their comments within a 2-minute time frame. The council will not be responding to or answering any questions. However, at the discretion of the council president, clarification may be given. There is nobody signed up this evening, so I will ask, is there any member of the audience that would like to speak at the public forum? If so, please step to the microphone and state your name and address. For the second time, would any member of the public like to speak at the public forum? And for the third time, Wendy?
Me. Thank you. I'm here, Wendy Weeks, 142 Blossom Street. I'm also the grant administrator for the city. I'm here for two matters. One is C04, which is the authorization for us to pursue the Justice Assistance Grant in the amount of $22,356. This is something we've been doing for over 20 years, and it is it's a grant that we use for, the police department uses for equipment and overtime. It's been very helpful to them. So this is just to authorize us to go ahead and apply. And it's really been something that's, you know, when the chief calls and says, we just need a little bit of money for this, it's very helpful to be able to go to this grant. So I'm asking for your approval of that. The other matter is the Safe Routes to Schools land takings. The Safe Routes to Schools program was started a few years ago by the state, by MassDOT, to improve infrastructure, including roads and intersections and sidewalks near schools. This project started for us in 2019 as a grant for $210,000 to the state for the area around Francis Drake. Originally, we were just going to do the strip that leads up to Francis Drake and the pedestrian crossing in front. The state came out, we did several walks, one of which was similar to a day on Sunday when it was almost 100 degrees, but they walked for a couple hours and loved the project. And eventually it expanded into a $3 million project to which the city has no match to that grant except to do the takings. So that started last year where when the council appropriated $50,000 for the appraisals for the entire strip of the project, which runs from on Viscaloid Avenue from Mechanic Street all the way almost to 117. So which is a pretty good strip, and all those intersections in between will be approved. It will be improved for pedestrians in particular. This is of a lot of interest to the state because of where this project sits, which is in the middle of our environmental justice neighborhood. It's the most densely populated section of the city. A lot of kids walking to school, and so it's very helpful. So they chose this as one of the model projects for the state. We did the appraisal. We estimated that the taking cost would probably be in the range of $500,000. People donated their little strips of land or whatever, and it turned out that we only needed about $43,000 to do the taking. So the total cost to the city is $93,000 to access $3 million worth of improvements. So I'm asking for your support of this. John Roseberry has been diligently working on this project since 2019, and he's also here to answer any questions about the process if you have any. Thanks.
And just to clarify something, which I normally don't get involved in public forum, but I will clarify something. We did suspend the rules on this last time, and the day after our last meeting, you were notified by the state that this is due August 1st. Is that correct?
They literally, it's actually worse than I thought, because this is federal money, so it comes down. So the state is answering to the federal level. So they have told us that basically we have 3 days to package this all up and get it recorded, because they only have until August 13th to get it to the feds. And then it's immediately going to go out to bid. Okay. So, you know, it's good timing that we did this. It's just, it's hard right now because everybody's got a lot of balls in the air because it's just the COVID money and it's just a lot of federal money coming in. So it's difficult for us and the state. You just got to, you know, kind of play along and just do what you can. Okay. So, thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you very, very much. Would anybody else like to speak at the public forum? If so, please step to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. And for one more time, would anybody else like to speak at the public forum? Seeing none, I now declare the public forum closed. We will be back in session, and we will move right into communications from the mayor, beginning with C-06. Madam Clerk.
Just bear with me. It's a bit of a struggle with my reading right now.
Want me to read it?
You don't mind?
I can read it, right? All right, no problem, I understand. C06, DJ Mazzarella, Mayor, request an appropriation of $227,236 be made to the following expense accounts. The same amount to be from additional state funds released. This is to balance the current year budget. Landfill expense, $15,600. Additional maintenance on property and lawn care. Landfill expense, $7,600 increase in contract price for the current year. Plumbing inspector, $445, key error in the budget process. Police drug unit, $5,250, excluded from the original departmental budget. Police PT part-time dispatchers, $13,500, excluded from the original departmental budget. Planning clerk, $1,000, change in current year rates. OPEB health insurance, $100,000, increases due to additional retirements. Health insurance, $83,841, increase in costs. This is the first time on the calendar, Mr. President.
And
I'd ask this if you give it.
refer to you?
Yeah, refer it to myself and give it regular course.
Okay, C-06 will be given regular course. I can read them, or you can. It's up to you.
I'll read
Whatever
it.
you-
C-07, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request an appropriation of $40,000 be made to the ITTF expense account, the same amount to be transferred from stabilization. This is regarding to continue necessary upgrades to the city's Wi-Fi network, Mr. President.
Refer to you.
And I will ask that this be given regular course, please.
C-07's been given regular course. C-08.
C-08, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request an appropriation of $42,000 be made to the fire equipment expense account, same amount to be transferred from a stabilization account.
And C-08 is also referred to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, first time on the calendar, regular course.
C-08's been given regular course. C-09.
C-09, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request an appropriation of an estimated $175,000 be made to the police and dispatch department's salary and wages account. The same amount to be transferred from the collective bargaining expense account.
And C-09 is referred to you, Mr. Chairman of Finance.
Again, first time on the calendar, regular course, please.
C-09 has been given regular course. C-10.
C-10, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request an appropriation of $464,000 be made to the Communication Project Fund, the same amount to be transferred from the Stabilization Fund.
And C-10 is also referred to you, Mr. Chairman of Finance.
Again, first time on the calendar, Mr. President, regular course, please.
C-10 has been given regular course. Now we have appointments. Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the attached list of individuals be appointed as election officers, term to expire August 1st, 2023. This is referred to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means.
Regular course, Mr. President?
And these appointments have been given regular course. Moving on to, we have no petitions first time on the calendar, so we will move on to matters before the City Council. And the first item under that is the financial report. Mr. Chairman of Finance, are you ready to report?
I am. We began the year on July 1st, this fiscal year 23, with a budget and stabilization account of $20,675,366. Thus far, to this date, there have been no additions to that fund. There are 4 pending matters for action with respect to transfers from the stabilization fund. Those total $692,878. If all of those are approved, the resulting balance in stabilization will be $19,982,488. And that is this financial report.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments on the financial report? Seeing none, we will move right into items under finance, beginning with C-01. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. Thank you. C-1, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests a fiscal year 23 appropriation of $11,000 be transferred from the Doyle Field salaries account, the same amount to be transferred to the Doyle Field expense account. This is related to the cleaning personnel at Doyle Field. Previously, it was done by a hire. The DPW, who is very involved in the maintenance of Doyle Field, has decided, with the concurrence of the Doyle Field Commission, to move to a third-party contractor. So this is simply a net revenue, a neutral revenue matter. We're just moving $11,000 from salary and wages to expenses to cover that expense in terms of the preferred way of doing business in the future. It would be my position, Mr. President, to grant C-1, and I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Cormier
I agree.
and Councilor Angelini.
I'm in agreement as well, Mr. President.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-01. Is there any questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-01 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-01 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
Yes, order that the sum of $11,000 be appropriated to the Doyle Field expense account, same to be appropriated from the Doyle Field salaries account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yea.
Yea.
Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-01's order has been adopted. C-02.
C-02, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, request a fiscal year '22 appropriation of $125,000 be transferred from the unfunded liability account with $100,000 to the OPEB insurance account and $25,000 to the group insurance account. This is regarding to cover additional costs for the fourth quarter bill due to increased healthcare costs and the number of people retiring in the current year. So, in fiscal '22, we had normal costs for OPEB of $4.6 million, and we added to catch up for unfunded liabilities of OPEB in the past, $3.1 million. Apparently, we're about $100,000 shy from meeting that, and that is why we are requesting this transfer. On the current track, we will fully fund our OPEB liability in the year 2037. As you know, the pension is fully funded, and we have an unfunded liability account each year where an amount of money is budgeted to cover any unfunded liabilities, both in terms of the pension as well as OPEB. In fiscal '23, the comptroller indicates to me that our normal costs or our pay-as-you-go costs for OPEB will be $4.6 million, and they're projecting applying $2.2 million in fiscal '23 towards the unfunded part of it. The other $25,000 for this appropriation is to meet, we're very close on the group insurance bill for fiscal '22, and the comptroller wanted a little bit of wiggle room in order to make sure that there's enough money in the account to pay the bill to close out the year. It would be my position, Mr. President, to grant C-02 based on the comptroller's explanation.
Okay, Councilor Cormier.
I agree.
Councilor Angelini.
I appreciate the Chairman of Finance's detailed explanation, and I'll be in favor of that as well, Mr. President.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-02. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-02 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-02 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
I do. Order that the sum of $125,000 be transferred from the unfunded liability account to be appropriated $100,000 to the OPEB insurance account and $25,000 to the group insurance account. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yea.
Yea.
Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-02's order has been adopted. Moving on to C-03.
C-03, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests a fiscal year '23 appropriation of $146,878 be transferred from the stabilization fund, with $60,594 to the CDBG coordinator salary account and $86,284 to the code enforcement officer salary account in the health department. This is regarding the CDBG grant structure changing, and these positions are no longer going to be allowed to be supported with grant funds. These funds will be budgeted in the annual budget going forward. So as suggested in the reference portion of the the communication. We learned from Ms. Racine when she was down here a month or so ago with our annual CDBG budget that we can no longer, according to federal regulations, fund the coordinator salary account and the code enforcement salaries out of the grant money itself. So because it came so late in the fiscal year, it wasn't budgeted. As indicated by the comptroller, in future years, it will be in our budget as line items, but this year, because it wasn't, we have to take it from stabilization and provide the funding for those positions. So with that explanation, Mr. President, it would be in my position to grant C-3, and I'd ask you to check with members of my committee.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Councilor Angelini?
I'm in agreement as well, Mr. President.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Finance Committee to grant C-03. Is there any further discussion? Councilor Frida?
Yeah, I support this. This is something we've been saying for years, that that grant money should be for what the original CDBG program was meant to be. Salaries should be part of our line item budget, and I'm glad to see it's finally happening that way.
Apparently, the federal government is supporting your position.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Is there any other discussion on C-03? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-03 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-03 has been granted. Does the chairman have an order?
I do. Order that the sum of $146,878 be appropriated from the stabilization fund to fund $60,594 to the CDBG coordinator salary account and $86,284 to the code enforcement officer salary account in the health department. Move for the adoption of the order.
You've heard the request for the adoption of the order. All those in favor of adopting the order signify by saying yea.
Yea.
Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, the order for C-03 has been adopted. Moving on to items under legal affairs, C-05. Mr. Chairman, are you ready to report?
I am indeed, Mr. President. Thank you. C-05, Dean J. Mazzarella requests that the city of Leominster take by eminent domain permanent and temporary easements on certain properties abutting or near Viscaloid Avenue for the purposes of the Safe Routes to School grant. As you know, Mr. President, we took this up under suspension of the rules back on July 11th, and we're quite fortunate that we did after the conversation we had with our grant administrator this evening, Ms. Weeks. There are a number of things here that procedurally we have to do. First, I'd received, I think we all did this evening, the boilerplate order of taking from KP Law. It's a little bit different than what we had seen originally, so I'm going to read it into the record, and then I think out of an abundance of caution, we'll probably seek an amendment or an adoption of the changes. So if you bear with me for one moment, Mr. Chairman. This is the order of taking that we were provided with today. Commonwealth of Massachusetts, Worcester County, City of Leominster, order of taking. At a regularly convened meeting of the City Council of the City of Leominster, the city, held on this day, 25th day of July 2022. It was voted and ordered as follows. The City Council of the City of Leominster, duly elected, qualified, and acting as such, on behalf of the city and by virtue of and in accordance with the authority of the provisions of Chapter 79 and Chapters 82, Sections 21-14 of the general laws, and any and every other power and authority hereunto enabling it in any way, hereby takes, for all purposes for which public ways are used, and for the purposes of undertaking the Safe Routes to School project. The project, in parentheses. The following easements in, on, under, and upon certain lands lying within abutting or near Viscaloid Avenue in the city of Leominster, Massachusetts, as shown more particularly on a plan entitled Plan of Land showing permanent and temporary easements on Viscaloid Avenue in the city of Leominster, Massachusetts, Worcester County, Northern District, prepared for the city of Leominster, dated June 28th, 2022, prepared by Chappelle Engineering Associates, recorded with the Worcester North District Registry of Deeds, herewith in Plan Book blank, Plan blank, the plan, which interests in which parcels are set forth more particularly below. Number 1, permanent easements in, on, over, under, along, and across the parcels of land shown on the plan as parcel E-1-T and parcel E-2-T, the permanent easement premises, for all purposes for which public ways are used in the city of Leominster, including, but not limited to, constructing, operating, improving, maintaining, repairing, replacing, relocating, realigning, and/or reconstructing rights of way, sidewalks, driveways, walkways, wheelchair ramps, guardrails, pavement markings, slopes of excavation and/or embankment, retaining walls, stone walls, drainage structures and facilities, and other utilities, traffic signals, bicycle racks, and landscaping, and for any and all purposes and uses incidental thereto. And number 2, temporary construction easements in, on, over, under, along, and across the parcels of land shown on the plan as parcel TE-1 through and including parcel TE-50 and parcel TE-52 through and including parcel TE-55. Collectively, the temporary construction premises for the purposes of undertaking the project, including, without limitation, grading land, constructing, operating, improving, maintaining, repairing, replacing, relocating, realigning, and/or reconstructing slopes of excavation and/or embankment, and/or driveway aprons, sidewalks, retaining walls, stone walls, landscaping, looming, planting of trees, seeding, paving, and/or erosion control, which temporary construction easements shall terminate automatically 3 years from the date on which this order of taking is recorded with the Worcester North District Registry of Deeds, without the necessity of recording any instrument with said deeds. Nothing in this paragraph shall affect the permanent easements acquired by the city hereunder. The city shall have the right of entry upon the passage, the city shall have the right of entry upon and passage over the permanent easements, premises, and the temporary easements premises collectively. The easement premises from time to time by foot and motor vehicles, including heavy equipment, for the purposes set forth herein, and all uses necessary or incidental thereto, including, without limitation, using and temporarily storing, as needed, construction equipment, materials, or other incidental items in, on, under, and upon the easement premises for the proper construction of the project. The city shall have the right to remove any buildings, structures, objects, utilities, and/or vegetation, including trees and shrubs, now or hereafter located within the easement premises, whenever their removal shall be necessary or convenient to exercise the rights taken hereunder. Utilities and related facilities located within the easement premises that are owned by private utility companies and easements held by private utility companies are not taken. The parcels of land subject to said easements are owned or supposed to be owned and/or formerly owned by the parties listed in Exhibit A, which parties are hereinafter collectively referred to as owners. If, in any instance, the name of any owner is not correctly stated, the names of the supposed owners being given as of this order of taking, it is understood that in such instance, the land referred to is owned by an owner or owners unknown to us. The amount awarded as damages sustained by the owner or owners of said parcels in accordance with the provisions of General Law, Chapter 79, Section 6, as amended, and to any other person having an interest therein, is set forth on Exhibit B attached hereto and incorporated herein, but which shall not be recorded with said deeds. No damages are awarded to those owners who have waived the right to damages. Betterments are not to be assessed under this taking. And it goes on, in witness whereto I, duly elected and qualified President of the City Council of the City of Leominster, have hereunto set my hand this 25th day of July, 2022, City of Leominster City Council, David R. Cormier, President. And then there's, of course, another signature line for Dean J. Mazzarola, Mayor. And then on the following pages, we have the parcels that are being taken are listed. There's 1, 2, 3 pages listing the property owner, property address, the book and page number where it can be found at the Northern Worcester Registry of Deeds, as well as the easement number and number of square feet of the taking. Again, Mr. President, as I stated initially, this boilerplate language is a little bit different than what we had seen earlier. And out of an abundance of caution, I think it would be important to make sure that there was a motion made, perhaps, and seconded and passed, that would clear the way for us to move forward on this.
Councilor Bedanza?
I'm going to move to amend the communication to incorporate the new language that was sent down to us just recently, which, as the chairman said, is the boilerplate. The original language sought permanent and temporary easements for a very broad purpose, obviously, to improve the street, the road. And on that basis, I'm going to move to adopt the language that the city solicitor provided today.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilor Cormier. Okay, so is there any discussion on the amendment? Councilor Frida?
Yeah, I believe we need a correction on what was just read, page 3, on the notarization part. It indicates Mark Bedanza, President of the Leominster City Council. That second paragraph needs to be changed.
That's correct. I saw that, too.
I have a different copy of that.
I can do that.
I noted that in the original document, but I think they have a clean copy. Where is it?
No, it's the jurat that the council is referring to. So the jurat is still wrong.
Okay, so is there any other discussion on this amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting the amended version signify, I think I'm going to do this by, should I do this by roll call vote? I think it's roll call?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to do this by roll call vote to accept the amended version. Councilor Bedanza?
I'm a yay.
Councilor Cormier?
Yay.
Councilor Ardinger?
Yay.
Councilor Angelini?
Yay.
Councilor Brady?
Yay.
Councilor Deacon?
Yay.
Councilor Frida?
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay, so we've adopted the amended version. So now, Mr. Chairman of Legal Affairs, I'm going to send back to you C-05, the amended version of it for your recommendation.
Okay. Again, I'd certainly like to thank the grant administrator, Ms. Weeks, for coming down this evening, and Mr. Roseberry. and all the work that went into this. I mean, that we've essentially leveraged $3 million with $93,000. And I think it's also important to recognize those landowners who were kind enough to donate these parcels to the city, making this project even more affordable. And it's a wonderful project. Get children back and forth to school safely. It's a wonderful opportunity for the community. I would, at this time, instead of carrying on, I will go to members of my committee. Councilor Bedanza.
Councilor Bedanza.
I'm in favor of granting.
Councilor Cormier.
I agree.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to grant C-05. Is there any other further discussion about this? Seeing none, we will do this by roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Yay.
Councilor Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Yay.
Councilor Deacon.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. C-05 has been granted. Moving on to 62-22, Mr. Chairman of Legal Affairs, are you ready to report?
I am indeed, Mr. President. Thank you. Petition 62-22. Pauline Cormier, Ward 2 Councilor, requests stop signs to be placed at the junction of A Street and Spruce Streets, both northbound and southbound. Mr. President, as you're aware, we held a public hearing this evening and read into the record a referral from Sergeant Traffic Division. And the petitioner articulately made an argument for further time. So we've continued, committee voted to continue the public hearing to August 8th at 6:50 p.m.
Okay.
And I would ask you to
Mr.
poll members of my committee.
Councilor Bedanza, you in favor of that?
I'm in favor of continuing the public hearing and giving the petition further time.
Okay. Councilor Cormier.
I agree.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of Legal Affairs to give this petition further time and continue the public hearing to August 8th at 6:50 p.m. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0. The hearing for August 8th at 6:50 p.m. has been established, and this petition has been given further time. Moving on to items under Ways and Means, C-04. Madam Chairwoman, are you ready to report?
I am, Mr. President. C-04, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, authorized the City of Leominster to pursue $22,356,000 through the United States Department of Justice Assistance Grant Program, JAG. As Ms. Weeks was kind enough to come down and explain to us, this has been a program that the city has been a part of for over 20 years. This helps with some of the expenses for equipment and overtime for the police department. It would be my recommendation to grant this petition.
Okay, Councilor Arndinger
I agree.
and Councilor Deacon.
I agree.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant C-04. Is there any discussion? Councilor Frida.
Yeah, we've been doing this for many, many years, and it's a great opportunity for us to increase our police force. And hopefully, as we have always in the past, had the money to continue with them once the grant was completed. So I'm glad to see we have this again.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Councilor Angelini.
Just briefly, I think it's really important to that we all take heed to what Ms. Weeks said earlier this evening at the public forum, where there's so much federal money floating around the system right now for all these COVID relief programs and the like, that not only does the grant administrator and the mayor's office have to be flexible, I think this council has to be flexible as well, so we don't miss any opportunities. And I think we demonstrated that on something that was before us early this evening, and I think that kind of cooperation from the council has been very effective, and I hope we can continue that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on C-04? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting C-04 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, C-04 has been granted. Moving on to item 1-23.
Thank you, Mr. President. Item 1-23, request to sign the election order for the September 6, 2022 state primary election. This obviously every election year. It just needs to be signed off on. It would be my position to grant 1-23.
Okay, and Councilor Arndinger, are you in agreement?
I agree.
And Councilor Deacon?
I agree.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Ways and Means Committee to grant 1-23. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of granting 1-23 signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0, 1-23 has been granted. Oh, okay, no problem. We'll just skip right over it because we already dealt with it, right? Yep, okay, no problem. Okay, so now we have items under new business. Is there any new business to come before the City Council? If not, we will move on to items under old business. And the first item is a selection of a new Assistant City Clerk. And I will refer this to the Chairwoman of Ways and Means. Do you have anything to add to this item?
I'm sorry, Mr. President. No, I don't have anything to add, Mr. President. I think we have two very qualified candidates, and I would ask that we take a vote on this matter.
Okay. All right, Councilor Bedanza.
I'm going to make a motion that we elect Maribel Perez as our Assistant City Clerk.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Arndinger. Okay, so we have a motion and second on Maribel Perez. Is there any discussion? Councilor Frida.
I have no objection to Maribel, but I really feel that we should be putting this off for another couple weeks. We should be having the opportunity to ask a couple more questions. And I really don't know that it's clear what the assistant clerk's position is. And I'll go to the Ways and Means Chair as to whether there was any discussion about clarity on that position that was able to be translated to the candidates on exactly what their job is.
We use the description of the job as it was provided in the original job listing. We did have, during the interviews, we did have the clerk, Ms. Huffman, present with us, and if there was any questions, she was able to answer them, and she was actually able to, and we weaved some of that into the questions that we asked, more specifically as towards the job and the specifics of the job. But basically, our questions and our interviews were based on the city's definition and what went into the application for the job. We used the city's definition of what the assistant clerk's position is.
I just have a concern that this is the third assistant clerk in 4 years that we're looking at. And they've left for other positions. I mean, we know some better, some more opportunities, some closer to home, for whatever reason. And I just have a concern with the way the last assistant clerk left. I mean, I don't think we were all aware of the situation, and I think there was confusion as to exactly what responsibilities were and were not. And I don't know that we were represented properly in her departure. And I just think that there's some real unclear job responsibilities and who's the boss, what's expected, and exactly what needs to be done. And I think unless that's done ahead of time, we're going to continue to have this problem if we don't have a really direct idea of what these people are walking into. I just think there's been a problem, and I think we've had a lot of turnover in that office. I think we need to look at that a little bit before we move forward. I don't know that they know exactly what they need to do, whose direction they're under. I mean, the whole office isn't under the city clerk. It's a department head. This council part is under us, but the rest of that job responsibility is not under the city council. The clerk is the department head, but there's been no contracts that I could find. There's been no rules and regulations that we could find as far as what's followed in that office. So I guess I'm not sure as to how someone is supposed to perform their job when they don't really know what they're supposed to be performing. And I just think that's a little bit of a problem.
Okay. Are you, okay, go ahead.
May I?
Sure.
I understand your concerns. In the time that I've been here, yes, there has been movement in the clerk's office and the assistant clerk, in particular, in each of the past 3 people that have left have moved up, have made that step up. And I understand what you're saying. I don't think the official job description has played a role in that movement. That's just my opinion. I think they have moved. I can tell you that procedurally, we followed all the procedures that were in place as far as the committee and how the entire process that we went through. Everything that we based it on was based on sound legal advice from Riley's office. It's, you know, as far as the definition, I really don't think that question never even came up during the interview process from any of the interviewees. They seemed to understand what the definition was, what their requirements was going to be. My position would be that although, and maybe it is something that we look into, but I don't think that we were in a place to, or would want to push this out any further. We do have an election coming up. The office needs to, this is an important position in the office. It needs to be filled. And it would be my position to go forward on the vote on that tonight.
Through the chair, I wasn't indicating that anything wasn't done properly. But what I was indicating, we hired someone the last time based on the need to have somebody in during the election. It's exactly why we went, and I voted against her, because I didn't think we followed the process properly. I thought we should have had more time, you know, to get some of the answers to the questions that came up during the interview process. I don't know that everybody here knows why the last clerk left. And I think that's an important piece when you're hiring the next clerk. And maybe everybody should find out exactly what happened. Maybe somebody should be telling somebody what happened. So, because I think it's important to the nomination process.
Councilor Bonanza, I see your hand.
Yeah. Well, first of all, we have a hiring professional in the city. That's Ms. Hurley, Wendy Hurley. I would be shocked if the clerk didn't consult her with respect to the job description for the current position, assistant city clerk, and I'm sure that she approved it. So that answers, in my view, that question. We really need to take her guidance in this process because she is the hiring professional, and she does a very good job. All of my experiences with her have been very positive. We have a vacancy now that is almost a month, just a couple days short of a month. We have no assistant, we have the opportunity to hire someone who's worked in the office for 20 years, that I thought during the interview suggested that she should have done this a long time ago. I take that as a great sort of zest for the position, and I think we leave ourselves exposed. We have a primary election coming up in September. I'm sure there's, even though that Ms. Perez has been in the office for a long time, there's a learning curve. She admitted that during the interview. I don't see how delay is going to help us as a city with this important function. What happened with the last assistant clerk? She moved up to a higher position, I believe, as a clerk from the assistant's position in a different community. I don't know if that has any zero bearing, I think, on going forward. Somebody wants to dissect that, that's up to them. But to sit here tonight and talk about that in very general terms, I don't think is helpful to the process, which is to move forward and protect the city as best we can and get Ms. Perez, if in fact she is successful and we elect her tonight, up to speed and doing the job at an efficient pace. So my position is we should move forward.
Okay. Councilor Arnger, I think I saw your hand, and then
Just,
I'll go to Councilor Angelini.
just a few comments. As far as the understanding of the job position, as we went through the interviews, we may not have asked those questions directly, but indirectly, a lot of us did ask questions about their understanding of what they were going to be doing once they were hired. So I think we did that portion of it. And then relative to the, what Councilor Bedanza, mentioned, he said everything I wanted to say probably much more eloquently than I can say it. So I agree with Councilor Bedanza.
Okay, thank you. And Councilor Angelini, I saw your hand as well.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief here, but I really want to tip my hat to the committee. I thought they did an outstanding job of bringing forth two finalists. We had the pleasure of interviewing this evening with two terrific applicants. For me personally, I think experience is paramount in the person we hire for this position. And that's really the difference for me tonight in my ability to support Ms. Perez as well. And one thing I think is obvious, today's job market, mobility is inherent. People are much more flexible. An opportunity comes along where they can either better benefits or better pay, or it's an easier commute. People, I see it all the time in the private sector. And so the fact that we've gone through a couple of assistant clerks, it's obviously something that we prefer not to have to do, but it happens in the job market today. And it's a very competitive job market as well, as I'm sure you know. So none of that really bothers me. But again, I think the committee did a terrific job, and I really want to thank them for their efforts. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Brady.
Be honest with everyone, I'm just a little disappointed that we didn't have more applicants to look through. We were presented with 2 resumes, not 3, as it was stated, and we had a brief interview. Hiring for a 5-year appointment, I think, should be well thought out. I just question the procedure in which this happened. I'm not questioning the ability of anyone who applied. They all look fantastic. But I think we should have been presented with at least one more choice.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
Just
Councilor
a comment, in reference to the counselor. We had 3 excellent candidates that I think we were going to bring forward today, and it was, less than a week ago that we had the other one, one pulled out, decide not to take the position. And at that point, I don't think there was any way in the world we could have gotten another candidate to be interviewed tonight.
Through the chair to the other counselor, there should have been an alternative ready to go. That's my opinion.
Okay.
We should have a little more preparation time. We should be able to get to know the candidates a lot better. Right now, I'm going on blind faith of the committee.
Okay. Is there any other discussion? Councilor Frida.
I'm just going to throw this out, too, and it really doesn't have anything to do with anything, but I guess it does in a sense of what perception is. I was in Demola's, and I was stopped by someone who asked me why he didn't have an interview for the assistant clerk's position. And I told him that I had nothing to do with it. I was not part of the committee. He felt that he deserved an interview. Again, I told him that we didn't have, he knew that it was down to 3 people. He seemed to have more information than I did, which was okay. But he also felt that the choice was already made. And that's why he didn't get an opinion, he didn't get an interview.
Do you
I
want to
told him
suggest
that
what
was
his
something he
name
had
was
to
so
take
we
up with
can
someone else.
deal in some specifics?
I'm sorry?
Do you want to suggest what his name was so we can deal in some specifics?
Did he deal in
No,
specific?
can you tell us what his name was?
Yeah, I can. I don't know that it's appropriate to say it.
Well, I mean, we're going to deal in innuendos. We might as well put the specifics on the record.
Well, if we're going to deal in innuendos, I'm going to say why I think that we should look at it as job description too, as to why.
Counselor, we can't come down here and talk about conversations that had with an unnamed person in the grocery store. Okay, we have 2 qualified people we interviewed tonight.
Yep.
I have a motion on the floor. I think we have an experienced person that's capable of doing their job. I think we need to deal with concrete specifics. That's all
I'm
I'm saying.
not disagreeing with that.
Okay.
I'm
Is
not
there any
disagreeing
other-
with that,
is
but
there any
we
other
we
discussion?
also had a very serious situation with the prior clerk, assistant clerk. And I don't know that anybody knows that here, and I think it was all because they didn't have
I
an
don't know what the
understanding.
situation is that you're referring to. Again,
Do you want me to say it?
that's up to you, okay? But
No,
the bo-
you're asking me. You want me
but
to
the bo-
say it? I'll say it.
No,
I
I
have
didn't-
her permission to say it.
I didn't ask you that.
Okay.
What I said is we have a matter before us tonight. That's
We
what
do.
we have.
We do. But we also have an assistant
Okay.
clerk.
I have somebody who wants to move the question. Is there a second?
I'll say
Okay,
that.
Council Bedanza, okay. Is there any, at this point, we're going to have a vote on Maribel Perez to be selected as the finalist for the Assistant City Clerk position. And I'm going to do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Council Bedanza,
Yay?
Councilor Cormier,
Yay.
Councilor Arnger.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini,
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Yay.
I'm sorry.
Yay.
Okay, Councilor Deacon,
Yay.
and Councilor Frida.
Nay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 7-1. Maribel Perez has been confirmed as the new Assistant City Clerk for the City of Leominster. And congratulations to her. I think she is gone at this point. Okay, we now have the second reading of an ordinance, C-84, and this is referred to the Chairman of Legal Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President. C-84, Dean J. Mazzarella, Mayor, requests that the following ordinance change be adopted. Amend Chapter 16, Personnel, Section 16-30, Compensation Grades, by inserting therein the following sections for fiscal year 2022 through fiscal year 2024 as follows. And then we list, the tables are listed immediately thereafter. This is the second reading of an ordinance for non-union employee compensation. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Leominster as follows. Chapter 16, Section 16 through 30 of the revised ordinances entitled Compensation Grades is hereby amended by inserting the following into subsection A as follows. A, 1, schedules effective June 30, 2022, scales of pay for salaried positions in the service of the City of Leominster, Massachusetts. 2, schedules, of course, after 1 is the pay grade schedule. Number 2, schedules effective June 30, 2023, scales for pay for salaried positions in the service of the City of Leominster, Massachusetts. And the same applies, compensation scale. And then 1 Schedules effective June 30, 2024, scales of pay for salaried positions in the service of the city of Leominster, Massachusetts. And it would be my position that we adopt the second reading of this ordinance, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Okay, Councilor Bedanza
I'm in favor.
and Councilor Cormier.
I agree.
Okay, you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the second reading of this ordinance, which is formally petition C-84. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I will do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Yay.
Councilor Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Yay.
Councilor Deacon. Councilor Frida.
Yay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 8-0. The second reading of this ordinance has been adopted. Moving on to 48-22. And this is the second reading of an ordinance as well. Thank you. I got a little confused there for a second. This is also a second reading of an ordinance as well. The Chairman of Ways and Means, ready to report? I'm sorry, Legal Affairs, you ready to report?
Yes, I am, Mr. President. Thank you. This, as you described, 4822, Peter Angelini, Ward 5 Councilor, requests to amend the City of Leominster revised ordinances, Section 12-2, as attached. This amendment is to propose to take effect, and of course, we amended that. It says July 1, 2022, but we've adopted the language upon acceptance or upon approval, I believe.
On this passage.
Upon passage, thank you. And this is the second reading of an ordinance. In the year 2022, an ordinance, be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Leominster as follows, amending Chapter 12 of the revised ordinances entitled Licenses by enacting the following changes to Section 12-2, Fees. Subsections 6, 12, 17, 28, 33, 41, 42, 43, and 51 are hereby deleted in their entirety. Subsections 3, 8, 9, 14, 15, 16, 19, 30, 38, 44, 45, 47, 53, 54, 55, 56, and 57, 58 are hereby deleted in their entirety, and in their place, the following are inserted. Number 3, circuses, etc. If admission price 50 cents or more, $100. If admission price less than 50 cents, $75. Hawkers and peddlers, $50. Inn holders, rooming houses, $25. Motor vehicles as common carriers, each $30. Number 15, motor vehicles as common carrier operators of $10. Number 16, motor vehicles, sales of secondhand, all classes, $100. Number 19, Sunday entertainment licenses authorized under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 136, Section 4, single application, $20, annual license, $400. Number 30, for filing certificate of a person conducting business under any title other than his real name, $35. Number 38, for entering certificate of marriage filed by a person married out of the Commonwealth, $25. Number 44, for recording order granting locations of poles, piers, abutments, or conduits, alterations or transfers thereof, an increase in number of wires and cables or attachments under the provision of Mass General Law, Chapter 166, Section 22, $100. Number 45, genealogical research, no charge up to 15 minutes, $25 for up to 1 hour, $25 each additional hour, plus the cost of certified copies. Number 47, for receiving and filing of a complete inventory of all items to be included on a closing out sale, etc. First page, $20, additional pages, $2. Number 53, zoning petitions, filing fee, $250 plus reimbursement for all public hearing publications in the cost of certified mail to abutters. Number 54, floodplain permits, filing fee, $250 plus reimbursement for all public hearing publications in the cost of certified mail to abutters. Number 55, Board of Appeals applications, filing fee, $250 plus reimbursement for all public hearing publications in the cost of certified mail to abutters. Number 56, City Council special permits, filing fee, $250 plus reimbursement for all public hearing publications in the cost of certified mail to abutters. Number 57, automatic amusement device, $100. Number 58, special permit fees, Water Supply Protection District, $250 plus reimbursement for all public hearing publications in the cost of certified mail to abutters. In the following new subsections are hereby inserted. Number 60, raffle and bazaar permits, $25. Number 61, transient vendors, $100. Number 62, street lists, $30. Number 63, home birth, $35, includes one copy of a child's birth certificate at completion. And further, the city clerk is authorized to renumber any subsection of section 12-2 as necessary. Mr. President, it would be my recommendation that we adopt the second reading of this ordinance, and I would ask you to poll members of my committee.
Councilor Bedanza?
I'm in favor.
Councilor Cormier?
I agree.
Okay, so you've heard the unanimous recommendation of the Legal Affairs Committee to adopt the second reading of this ordinance, which is formally petition 48-22. Is there any discussion? Councilor Frida?
Yep, as I've stated in the past few times we discussed this, I support looking at these fees, and that some of them need to be adjusted. But, you know, for people that are watching, I just think this is really the wrong time to be raising fees on people in the city on things that they're doing. Yeah, I don't think the economy warrants it right now. So I will not be supporting this.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Seeing none, I will do this in a roll call vote, beginning with Councilor Bedanza.
Yay.
Councilor Cormier.
Yay.
Councilor Arndinger.
Yay.
Councilor Angelini.
Yay.
Councilor Brady.
Yay.
Councilor Deacon.
Yay.
Councilor Frida.
Nay.
And I will be recorded as yay by a vote of 7-1. The second reading of this ordinance has been adopted. Is there any other old business? Seeing none, anything under the community calendar? Councilor Frida.
Yesterday, although it was quite warm, it was a great game at the Leominster Day at Polo Park, and it was great to see the Little League, who unfortunately were unsuccessful in their bid for the title on Saturday, but it was a great opportunity for them to be throwing out the first pitch yesterday with the mayor. So I don't know how many people were there from Leominster. I think everybody was kind of scattered, but it was a good day, although it was hot.
Okay, is there any other thing to come under the community calendar? Seeing none, I will have a motion to adjourn by Councilor Bedanza. I think I saw the hand of Councilor Cormier. Do you want to second that? All those in favor of adjournment, please signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, by a vote of 8-0. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.